How can you, as a professional driver and your carrier, pay tribute to our fallen heroes? On today's episode of Driven Too Far, we've got Courtney George from Wreaths Across America.
Hello, I'm Andrew Winkler, and this is Driven Too Far, the truth about trucking, a podcast that helps over-the-road truck drivers balance career and family.
On this episode of Driven Too Far, we're joined by Courtney George, who is the manager of transportation and industry relations for Wreaths Across America. Welcome to the show, Courtney.
Thanks so much for having me.
I couldn't wait to do this one. And so I've been involved in Wreaths Across America in some capacity or another for many years now. And I just think it's one of the most amazing programs out there. And I feel like there's probably a lot of drivers that maybe don't know what it is yet. Maybe they've seen some of the wrapped trailers moving up and down the interstates and stuff and curious what that's all about. But if we could jump in, could you give us a little bit of background and maybe the origin story of Wreaths Across America?
Absolutely. So Wreaths Across America started in 1992 by our founder, Morrill Worcester. He owns a wreath making business and had in excess of 5,000 wreaths left over one season. And as a boy, he had gone to DC and visited Arlington, and he thought, what better place for me to, take these extra wreaths than Arlington. So he had to work clearly with some Maine state senators and stuff like that to be able to take them down. But that was a huge win in my book because I tell everyone, you can't just show up with a tractor trailer full of wreaths to Arlington. It's not how it works.
They're not just going to let you in. That's right.
No, they might let you in somewhere else, but not there.
Yeah.
And so, very quietly, the family laid wreaths from 92 up until about 2006, 2007. That's when that iconic picture really took off, where the wreaths are in the snow in Arlington. And 2007 is when the nonprofit was founded. And since 2007, what I love about what they've done is they have not just focused on Arlington, but they have grown it across the country. Last year, we placed 2.7 million wreaths in over 3,700 locations.
That is incredible. 2.7. So what does it take to make 2.7 million wreaths each year? And how do you do that?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, making 2.7 million wreaths, I'll first say, thank goodness our vendor has lots of land with lots of balsam trees to make these beautiful, fresh wreaths. But to be able to get to that 2.7 million number in 3,700 locations, we can't do it without the trucking industry. The trucking industry support is so paramount for us. It is what makes a difference to a family every single year.
Let's talk about, what I'm curious about is what time of year do you actually start trimming the trees and making the wreaths? Do you guys have to bring in any third-party people or outside vendors to help? Because that is an enormous amount of wreaths.
It is a lot of wreaths. I'm sure that they do. I'll be the first person to say, if there's a third party, that's not something, because I stick in transportation. But they are looking right now. We're waiting for that hard freeze to happen. It normally happens, and it starts really in October. But that first hard freeze that happens up there in Maine, they are, at that point, tipping the trees, which for most of us, we think of a balsam tree or Christmas tree being in that triangular shape.
Right.
For us, our trees are tall and skinny. And that's because each little spout or sprout that you have, we only tip in 3. So we allow room for growth. So that way those trees are something that happen and normally don't get tipped, but once every 3 years.
Okay.
I mean, there's a lot of science that goes into it. Each tree is hand fertilized. And so hand fertilizing each tree on 66,000 acres is, I'm sure, no easy feat.
So let's talk just a little bit about Arlington itself, and what does it take to cover Arlington? How many truckloads, and what's the process to get all the wreaths down to Arlington each year?
Absolutely. There are about 56 truckloads it takes to cover Arlington. So Arlington, which is the most, everyone wants to cover and go into Arlington. What it really takes is one, wreath sponsorships. Lots of people love Arlington and it's great. And I tell everyone, hey, if you're going to donate a wreath and you don't know where to donate it to Arlington, because there are families in there, or there are soldiers in there who are buried whose families, don't exist. They're graves that are hundreds of years old there in Arlington. So always consider donating one wreath for Arlington. For Arlington, it is the most choreographed version of, I'm going to call it almost like a Swan Lake that you've ever seen. We have an Arlington Wreath Project team. Dan Mead that handles that is completely phenomenal. We meet with Arlington National Cemetery regularly. There is a plan. The route is planned from drivers going to a specific meet point, from that meet point being escorted in. They're escorted in 10 at a time. It is, like I said, the most choreographed version of Swan Lake because it happens so perfectly. Like everything just, if you can imagine it happening, it's almost like a machine that's running it. We have all of the drivers as well as, one company representative that gets on a phone call prior to Arlington so that the drivers know what they're going into. They know what to expect. We want them to feel the immense amount of pride that they get, because to be a driver for Arlington means that you have to be one of the best drivers for your company to pick you to represent them.
Right, right.
And so many of them are veterans or Gold Star families. And so being able to deliver in there means so much to them. Going into Arlington where they're everyone is staged, and then trucks are opening one at a time. People are walking up, picking up one wreath, two wreaths, and being able to go and place them. It is so amazing because you see anywhere between 30 to 60,000 people descend in Washington, and it's just awesome to see how many people come out to love and support the mission and our veterans.
So I'd mentioned I've been involved with Wreaths for several years. And we've had trucks at Chief Carriers we do for the last couple of years, and then also a previous company I worked for as well. But this year I'm really excited because 10th Street, among some other hosts, are having something they call a Vet Ready Summit right before Arlington this year. And we're going to go to that. So myself and my wife, and I'm going to take our recruiter with us for the Vet Ready Summit. So it'll be our first year going into Arlington to do the wreaths. And I can't wait. I've seen the pictures, I've seen the videos of everything, and it just looks like an amazing day.
Well, I will say Summit 10th Street and Fastport are putting on is an outstanding opportunity. If you are in recruiting, safety, even HR, it is a great event. I will be there. So I look forward to seeing you in person there.
Absolutely.
And then getting ready for Arlington. I'll tell you, you'll get to register to go into Arlington. They will give you a gate. They will give you a time that you go, and go. And I also tell a lot of people, don't fly. If you're going to fly out, you either want to fly out late that night or go the next day. Because Arlington is one of the most moving cemeteries to go to. I had my first opportunity to go in, and it was a very humbling experience for me. Yes. I watched, and it was years ago, but it was watching, a mom pulling her child dressed in military blues, to lay a wreath for their father. Or it's the guy that, was at Walter Reed and came over. That says a lot. And people don't realize, like, emotionally, you take a lot in, and it is such a great feeling. That's why I tell everyone, do not rush out after going to Arlington. Take some time, spend some time there. Take in what you just saw because I call it the eighth wonder of the world.
I have a son that's 24 years old, going to be 25 soon, but and I'm contemplating taking him along with. He would have no connection necessarily with it and has never experienced anything like that. But everybody I've talked to that's come out of Arlington and actually participated on Wreath Day in December is just say it is the most moving thing you could ever do. It is just an amazing experience.
It is the best experience. And everyone that did the Vet Summit last year, my phone was ringing off the hook going, I can't believe I've never done this. And I was like, once you do it, you're hooked. You want to continue to do it. When you see, everyone that's out there, it's so moving. And then if you start looking on social media, the people that have said, hey, I couldn't come this year. Can you take a picture? My grandfather is buried in section, 149 or X, right? And people that are just out there that go and take the pictures just to help somebody who can't even get there. That's what our country's about.
Oh yeah. So let me ask you about the general public. I know there's a lot of people that converge on Arlington on that Saturday in December. Does somebody from the public, do they have to do anything special to sign up ahead of time, or do you just show up at a gate?
So everyone needs to register.
Okay.
You can do that through going to www.wreathsacrossamerica.org.
Okay.
And then you click volunteer and you put in Arlington. And that way you will be assigned, a gate that you go into, normally a time slot. And that's really important because they want to have some, they want to make it the best experience for anyone that's going into Arlington, where it's easy to get in. And I say easy, you get through security, all of those things. It makes it a seamless process and it makes it the best outcome for anyone that's going to Arlington.
So, you say they have a time and stuff. Do they stagger the times when they let people in? And how many wreaths does somebody actually get a touch and set on a grave? Is it limited, or how do they do all that?
So you can sign up for like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock,
Okay.
11 o'clock. And then they historically give 1 or 2 wreaths per person at a time. You get in line, you walk up to a trailer, you get a wreath, and then, go place it. And then if you have the opportunity to walk back to another trailer and get another wreath, go place it. The one thing that we ask is when you're placing that wreath, you say their names. We have a saying at Wreaths Across America that a person dies twice. Once when they take their last breath, and the second time when their name is said last. So as you go and you place that wreath, we ask that you say their names.
So every year somebody's there saying that fallen soldier's name.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Tell me about Wreaths Across America, about is it Remember, Honor, Teach? Is that the order?
Yes, absolutely. We want to, remember those who are no longer with us, honor those who served, and teach the next generation that freedom isn't always free. We have one of the coolest things that we've published this year is we have a K through 12 curriculum that can go into any school that has to do with Wreaths Across America. We have Miss Cindy Tatum is absolutely outstanding. She's a lady who comes up and creates those lesson plans. She is a retired teacher. More importantly, she's a Gold Star mom. And she loves that teaching part, even retired. I joked with her and I was like, I don't really get to be retired. And you can see her heart and soul that are poured into these lesson plans. And I have so much respect for that because my mom was a teacher and my sister's a teacher. And so I see the joy that she gets and creating these so that, children learn. We don't always talk about what we've been through as a country, but we want to make sure, our goal at Wreaths Across America is for every veteran, domestic or abroad, to receive a wreath. This year, we are so excited that we will be going back to Europe and placing wreaths for our veterans over there as well. And that's something that we started before COVID and then had to stop after COVID. So we are so excited to be going back.
That teach thing is so important. And that was kind of the part I said I'd like to take my son, just so he understand and comprehends what this country's been through and all the sacrifices people have made to live where we are. Thanks for joining us on this episode of Driven Too Far. Be sure and leave us a 5-star review, and we'll see you on the next episode.